episode was for this to open up and for me to have a stuffed bird on my shoulder and Riley have like a hat with a seagull on it. And, you know, maybe when the budget gets better for the podcast, we'll be able to.
We tried to get plastic crows, but Walmart failed us.
Oh, don't mention
and
Walmart.
They did.
I can't mention
I'm
their name.
attacking Walmart.
They're going to sue you now.
They're going to sue me.
No, I've envisioned all these birds sitting around here and like perched on the couch and stuff, and we would scare the cats. But there's not a stuffed crow to be had in the metropolitan area.
I'm surprised the cats haven't made more of an appearance in this podcast. Franklin had a little one in the first one, but Doris is over here sleeping.
We could have dressed the cats up like crows, I guess. You know, that would have
missed
been
a golden opportunity.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay, guys, welcome.
There's our clever little, That's our
cold open,
humorous opening
for this episode.
How do you like our improv skills?
I love it.
Okay, hit it. Oh, sorry. I keep looking up. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It'll be your charming little thing.
Okay.
Your charming little old man quirk. Welcome to episode 3. We are
I looked up again.
Continuing. 3. That's okay. We're continuing our Hitchcock series. We're looking at The Birds in this episode. By now, you should have watched it. Obviously, spoilers ahead. We are continuing. This is the 3rd week in October that we're releasing this, and
building up
cool.
to the finale.
Building up to the finale, the spookiest films ever made by Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know if that's true. We just picked really good ones. But yeah, I'm gonna give like I always do, just a little background of the film. So this was released. This is actually good because so next we're watching Psycho. For next week, you know, the big finale.
Psycho.
But this one was released in 1963, right after Psycho. So it was Psycho and then The Birds, which kind of like cemented his reputation because the 2 really great suspenseful thrillers were one right after the other. And they were both very unconventional thrillers for sure. This one, like I keep mentioning, he keeps, basing these off of like short stories or like books that he finds. And this is Daphne du Maurier's 1952 short story, The Birds. And it's essentially...
You can pronounce that one.
not like last week, no. It was Daphne du Maurier. I think it's Maurier. I want to say Maurier's. I think I pronounced it wrong. But it was set in rural England. And is essentially the same, but it's like, 1952, right after World War II, different context. You know? For this film, he used, talking about like production stuff, a mix of trained birds, mechanical props, and some groundbreaking optical effects from Walt Disney's. This is his real name. I looked up to make sure this was pronounced correctly. His name's Ube Iwerks. Have you ever heard of him?
No.
He was like
never heard of Ube.
He was kind of his first name is Ube Iwerks, and he was born in Kansas City, Missouri.
What's his first name?
Ube, and I think his family were immigrants from Germany.
Spell it.
Ub.
Okay,
Ube.
So you're saying his name is
Ube,
but you spelled it earlier and said Ub.
Yes.
I got you.
Yeah.
Because first I thought you said his name was Ubi, or something like that. So
his name is, his last name is Iwerks, which is funny because it's like...
Iwerks.
Yes. But
perfect name.
He was kind of like the brainchild behind a lot of Walt Disney's like effects and everything in all the movies.
So that was really his name. That's almost it. No.
Yeah,
Iwerks because, I'm thinking...
It's kind of like iPhone or something. Like,
yeah.
It's like if Steve Jobs' name was Steve iPhone. That's really funny. Anyway.
What a lucky name.
I know.
Oob had.
But, he was a Disney pioneer. I don't know much about him. I just looked it up and made sure I could pronounce that for some reason.
That's interesting. Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell more background because we'll get back to Oob.
We probably noticed this because we're used to, like, better effects nowadays. But during the movie, there were some parts where, like, you saw real birds, but then you also saw, like, an effect where birds were, like, it was like not real birds. It was birds that were filmed and overlaid on top of the scene.
Yes.
And that was Oob.
Yep. Good job, Oob.
Good job, Oob. received an Academy Award nomination for Best Special Effects, though it
Oob
lost.
did? Oob.
No. Well, I mean, I guess he did, but it was the movie received an Academy Award for Best Special Effects.
Well, I'm sure Oob.
Well, he's part of the
If they had announced that the birds
Oob.
won, Oob would have.
Yeah. He's a really famous guy.
I'm not making fun. I'm just amazed. I'm amazed that he had such a fortunate name and was, a visual effects guy.
Oob.
But he would have picked up the Oscar had they won.
Yeah, probably. Okay. Well, I mean, special effects isn't just the visual effects; it's also like sound and things like that too. I think, right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. You're a big, but it lost to Cleopatra. Isn't that who's in that?
Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton.
Yes. You didn't like that movie? You went like, ugh.
It was one of the biggest flops of.
Really?
Yeah.
I won an Academy Award. That's crazy.
It's a huge,
for special effects, I guess.
It's a huge flop.
I guess you don't have. It doesn't have to be a good movie to have good special effects. Anyway. This. Obviously, we talked about this. It helped inspire a lot of animal attack and disaster films. Mm-hmm. Spielberg said it was a huge influence for Jaws, which you can totally see now. You're like,
Excuse me, I would imagine.
Like nature, kind of coming back.
Made me burp. Sorry.
But yeah. I wanted to talk on a little bit of a darker note. I kind of wanted to give a little background on. I guess. Do you want to talk about Tippi Hedren later in the acting stuff?
I can talk about Tippi anytime.
Okay.
Tippi and Oob.
Tippi and Oob had great names on this movie. Yeah. Is it Hedren or Hedren? Am I saying it right?
I just always have heard
Tippi Hedren. Okay. I think that's right.
Tippi Hedren.
Yeah. Tippi Hedren, who plays Melanie Daniels in this movie, has already spent months filming with live birds. But Hitchcock promised her that for the cinematic, like the attic attack at the very end, they'd switch to mechanical birds. Mm-hmm. And so she expected like props or like, puppets on wires or some kind of effect. But when she arrived on set, she discovered that during the scene when she went into the attic, crew members threw live gulls, ravens, and pigeons at her. Mm-hmm. And while other birds were tied to her costume so they couldn't fly away.
Oh my gosh.
So birds literally scratched at her face and arms, and one nearly pecked her eye out, genuinely. And so obviously, so that's not
it's
funny.
Not funny.
That's not funny. She obviously was like, physically and emotionally wrecked. It was a horrible thing.
I know. It's bad.
You're just thinking about like the birds attacking her and her being like, what the heck?
No, when you said pecked her eye out,
that's kind of a funny way to, I kind of phrased it. Okay.
It was just.
So, and then,
we're so desensitized.
We are
in our generation.
I keep looking up too. I'm really just reminding you. So some cast and crew later suggested that Hitchcock deliberately deceived her to elicit genuine terror for the camera, which makes a lot of sense. But a lot of people talk about how he kind of had almost like a weird obsession with like control and almost like cruelty, like he liked it or something, because he has a reputation with some of his, the Hitchcock blondes. And
but
stuff
I'm
like
starting
that.
to wonder if Hitchcock did a lot of this stuff on purpose. If he played mind games with his
absolutely
cast. I don't know.
I think it was have you ever seen the movie Whiplash with the drummer?
No, but I've heard about the psychological.
I think it's that kind of deal where he's like, to really pull out greatness out of people, you have to torture them, which I don't agree with. No. But that's at least I think probably what he was thinking.
I'm really sorry, Tippi, that I laughed when he said
Tippi,
he was going to.
It was horrible. That was abuse. You didn't deserve that. So the reason we wanted to bring it up is because we didn't just want to talk about these films while just glossing over, the bad stuff that happened.
Right.
Because, she later even accused him horribly of like sexual assault and things like that. And and just kind of, we said in the last episode, we want to hold, okay, this is a great movie, but this is what happened. And we don't want to, past that and just kind of forget about it and act like it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So, So moving on to the actual movie.
Yeah.
What was kind of your first take? What did you think about it?
Well, I knew a little bit of background about Tippi Hedren because of course we read a little bit and we try to prepare for these podcasts. Tippi Hedren is was handpicked by Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
He had seen her in a television commercial, believe it or not. She really had no major film experience.
Right. Yeah, this is her first one, isn't it?
And he had done things like this before, just to get a special vibe from an actor. But I think he wanted her, Melanie Daniels, to be, he wanted her to be. You see how she was elegant. She was fresh and new because the audiences didn't know her at all. But I think he also wanted somebody who he could direct with. How do I put this?
Like almost like she didn't have like a set of experiences that were not what he
right,
wanted.
And he
could mold her.
He could mold her. That's right. Do you have that written down in your notes too?
No.
Okay.
No, I just kind of.
That's what I have written down in my.
It's my genius in the moment.
I see.
What it is,
I see.
so.
Well, I have that in my notes.
Yeah.
Something about molding her. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think with she was her central character. He wanted some frailty there, of course, especially with how the movie unfolded.
Yeah. Yeah. Had you seen this before? I didn't know if you had.
I had seen this before, but it had been a long time.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen it in a long time.
I think I had heard of it, but obviously not as much as like Vertigo or Psycho or something like that. You know.
Right.
But this obviously is like one of his most famous movies.
Right.
I wanted to talk about how. Like my first impressions of it, right? Kylie, because I watched it really late at night. So
and Kylie is my daughter-in-law, also known as
beautiful. My wife,
yes,
she's great,
beautiful.
But I watched it really late. She has school, so she can't stay up very late. So she watched probably like the first hour with me, and we were to be truthful, we were kind of laughing at it because we were used to this kind of like campy kind of disaster flicks.
Sure.
That weren't done very well and are kind of like funny these like B movies where it's like I remember one where like it was essentially this movie but with bats and everybody kept going like I think it's the bats like that and it's like that's
and so many of those like there have been horror movies made with bugs and snakes
exactly
and so
they try and it's those like nature turning on humanity for some reason,
right.
But no one ever did it well. And so obviously the effects are dated and stuff. So we were kind of laughing at it at first, but you realize within the context of this, like nothing like this had ever been done before in this medium where you have something, even like birds that are, he wanted to use really common birds. I heard like ravens and seagulls and things like that people usually see to make them, it's something you come into contact with every day that you are used to, you're not afraid of, and maybe even, some people walk outside and you hear birds chirping and you're like, oh, you think peaceful, tranquility.
And the uneasy feeling comes from you look at them and say, I'm looking at them from a whole different light.
Yeah,
what if
they all gained together and decided to erase all of us from existence?
Peck our eyes.
Peck our eyes out. See,
it's awful.
I did bad phrasing. That's what it was.
Sorry.
Anyway, okay, all right. So, so moving on to like, looking at the time here, like story themes kind of stuff. I loved in this movie that it just kind of, one of the main themes is like everyday life, just kind of being interrupted by something happening,
right?
And I wanted to kind of like delve into, you have more of a context for this because you're older than I am. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
But
True.
You weren't alive when this happened. But in the 60s, when this was released, 1963, I'm trying to think like, what do you think the context of the people in that time? What do you think they were thinking about whenever they like in regards to like, because this film almost starts off like a romantic comedy. And then it just gets boom. You're like, what's happening?
Right.
Like, I almost when I started to watch it, I was like, is this going to be similar to Vertigo, where the movie's called Vertigo, and it's barely about vertigo?
Yes.
And I'm like, is it barely going to be about the bird?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So, what kind of like, what do you think that did for people in the 60s, like contextually?
Well, I was thinking when you originally were mentioning the novel that this came from.
Yeah,
If you said it had been written in the early
1952.
50s, and so it's interesting because I'm sure that had this movie been made then, and maybe even based in England, because the war and the bombings over there in England especially, it would have been received by that audience a whole different way. But now that we're moving up to the 60s, and now we're talking about the Cold War and those types of things, and now obviously we're in the atomic age now. I'm always concerned I'm going to get something messed up on a historic timeline here, but
no, you're good.
I don't know.
It's about 7 years after World War II.
Yeah, I know that. I was wondering, about the Cold War.
No, the 60s definitely were, because the Cold War was like 20 something years. Like, it essentially was like, hey, the entire world is destroyed.
No.
U.S. versus Russia, who's going to pick up the
and
pieces?
Now we have that threat. So I'm wondering.
Oh, like the Cold War anxieties for
right.
Yeah,
and also what was going on. How close this was released in '63. Is that what you said?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Kennedy was assassinated.
Let me look it up.
Maybe you better look it up.
Yeah.
I just this occurred to me because you talk about how
he was assassinated in November 22nd, 1963. So the same year that this came out. I don't know when this movie came out.
Yeah, I'm wondering when I'm sure people went to see it. Throughout that year. It's probably available in theaters.
So
for
this
a long
was
time.
released in March of 1963. So Kennedy was still alive.
Okay.
But I mean, all
sure.
Bay of Pigs, like all the stuff with Cuba was happening, and impending doom of nuclear war and things like that.
And I think these horror films were appealing because of that sense of suspense.
Sure.
You don't know what's going to happen. It occurred to me. Let's see, what was I thinking about? Oh gosh, now I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, you'd said something about it being campy a little bit, and I remember in our last podcast we said you have to look at these movies as if you saw them in the theater on the big screen.
Yeah.
You have to look at these movies through the eyes of people who were living at the time, which is difficult for us because
totally
this came out 4 years before I was born. Of course, I don't relate really to the 60s, but because I was growing up in the 70s and 80s really. But I'm wondering because it was in living color. And we see the blood, which is kind of fake looking. But
to them, it was pretty shocking. I bet.
It was very shocking on the big screen. We have our stuffed bird back behind us here, don't we?
Our little crow. You can
you
barely see
him back there in the darkness, but yeah.
This is Sir Franklin, by the way. That's his full government name.
They're probably like, "What are you pointing at?"
Yeah. You can't even see him.
I just wondered if maybe it would have improved things if it had been shot in black and white, but yet there would have been a lot of things taken away, like the fantastic scene where the kids are running from the schoolhouse.
Oh yeah.
And of course there's the blonde aspect and those sort of things.
I could not help but notice that the way Tippi Hedren's character Melanie, her name's Melody, right?
Right.
And when did Vertigo come out?
Vertigo, 1954. No, 58.
Okay, so Vertigo had already come out. Her character's name is Melanie, and she's dressed and has the same hairstyle, essentially, as Melanie in Vertigo. Right? She's got that same, like, power suit skirt
You're
thing.
talking, you're meaning, now I've forgotten her name.
What?
Madeline. You're thinking Madeline from Vertigo, right?
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, but I noticed
That's
their
right.
I noticed their hairdos.
Yeah,
were
like
the same.
so I know he had this obsession with blondes or something, but like it was interesting to me because I'm like, that looks exactly like her, like the way she dressed and everything.
Again, I wish we were at the point in our podcast history here where we could offer bonus content and we could examine Alfred Hitchcock. And maybe we'll go back and look at directors and directing styles because
we can do it.
There are more Hitchcock films.
Absolutely.
I will tell you the campy part. Now, of course, some of the bird scenes, the blood, that kind of stuff, you want to laugh a little bit, but
sure.
look at the explosions, look at the overhead shots. I mean, you have to admit that Hitchcock's brilliant in the way he films certain things. The birds trying to get in the house, the birds pecking through the shutters.
One thing I noticed is a lot of the shots when that stuff is happening is from inside looking out.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're supposed to feel trapped like the humans
well, because that's our biggest fear. That's like a claustrophobia feeling with the birds coming at you, pecking you, pecking your eyes out.
Yeah.
But I did one of the things that I thought was kind of campy and funny was she's gonna take the lovebirds, which we'll get back to the lovebirds, but she's taking the lovebirds over to boy, we've really done a good job here. What's his name? Rod Taylor.
Oh,
Mitch.
Yeah.
She's taking the lovebirds over to his house. She gets into the boat in her mink coat and her purse, and her high heels, and she runs the motor over there just like she does it every day. Obviously, this is a woman from a wealthy background, it just kind of, and she hooks the boat up, and just kind of takes her a little time gingerly getting out of the boat and sneaks the lovebirds in. And I don't know. To me, it was funny. I mean, it was not a huge deal, but
it's like this cutesy thing. I totally. Can I tell you what I thought this movie was gonna be?
Yeah.
I again knew nothing about it. I didn't know the birds were going to be villains. I knew nothing. I thought it might be like Vertigo, where it's like just a little part of the story, but it's still pretty integral to the plot. I thought, maybe the lovebirds are the only birds you really see in the movie or something.
Right.
And what I thought, me and Kylie were talking about this while we were watching the first hour. She was like, "Let me know how it ends," and I was like, "Bird apocalypse. That's what happens."
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be some kind of like, have you seen Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes.
I thought it was going to be that kind of scenario where, because she goes into that, but then you find out she's a celebrity. So everybody knows her. She's kind of like a rich, like debutante, kind of like something. But like everybody knows her and they all are very eerie when they talk to like the schoolhouse lady. I forget her name.
Suzanne
Annie
Plachette.
Hayworth.
Annie.
Suzanne Plachette. Annie's like, "Oh, you're going to see Mitchell," and she says, "Good luck," like that, and it's like, okay, and then you find out it's just because they used to date or something, and her mother's a little possessive or something.
Yeah.
But it's like, I thought, but that's just how interruptive the birds are to the movie, because it's almost like you're watching a movie. And then this new thing happens, and the plot completely changes, and it's just all. But that's kind of how war feels. War, like Cold War, World War II. It kind of feels like you're just trying to live your life, but then maybe bombs will get dropped on
upsetting
us.
upsetting the normal flow.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
So
I want to talk about that too.
So,
but I couldn't remember if. Yeah, so I just had like this was like very very unlike typical monster movies where it was nature versus humanity. I kind of noticed. I don't know if you noticed this, but like the use, or I guess like the omission of any kind of like musical score. It was completely silent.
Well, and that brings me to what I was going to say too.
Yeah.
The silence in this movie is almost a character in itself.
That's good.
Yeah. When they were inside the house, I mean that silence,
terrifying.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because it's coming.
The silence during one of the most horrific scenes when Jessica Tandy, Lydia, when she goes to Dan Fawcett's farmhouse. And you go and you see him sitting there all bloody with his eyes
with his eyes pecked out,
and they're with his eyes pecked out, and you see him, but then the camera just you usually have some kind of like da-da-da or something, and the camera just zooms in. The horror isn't even in how he looks; it's in her reaction to it, and she totally sells it. It's it makes you go, oh my gosh, it's like jarring and shocking.
Well, and she rushes home and she can't even. She can't even verbalize,
Oh my gosh!
And that I would imagine that scene was at the time in theaters you know, the audiences just really reacted to that. I'm sure, like,
oh my gosh.
you know,
it was
just
horrific.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a little too gory.
Well, I thought it was a little bit much for the time too. I mean, I thought it was really too much for our time, but
I did. I'm saying, like, right now, a little too gory.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
And this is 1963.
Yeah,
so,
I would agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to also kind of talk about. Oh, I had it right here. Kind of in keeping with the themes of, like, war and things like that, or something. This isn't really like that, but it's like when something disastrous happens, something unexplainable happens that we can't grasp. Because Hitchcock is brilliant with the way he treats the birds, because there's no purpose behind it. We don't know why it's happening. It's just happening, and they have to accept it. But then there's that scene in, like, the diner or wherever they're at, where they're all kind of arguing with each other and turning on each other because they're like, no, it's this, no, it's this, no, it's the end times and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's almost representative of, like, when something happens to a community or even humanity in general, an unexplainable, unknowable thing happens, our desire to control it and to put our minds around it and to have some kind of explanation. And I thought that was brilliant.
Well, I don't know. Is the see, now I'm forgetting. I need to watch this, like,
sure.
before we go on here.
Oh yeah.
The police officer or the detective or someone leaves the diner and he says, "Let me know if you hear anything or find out what's going on." And the man in the diner goes, "The world's coming to an end." Like he's gonna have a toast or whatever. And that's a comedic element to it.
Yeah. Well, so that's another one. It's like the guy who gets out of his car and they're like, no, and then he lights a cigar.
Yeah. You're like, what are you doing, you idiot? Yeah, exactly. I know. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of funny because you're like, it's kind of campy, but I'm sure in 1963 it was horrible.
Yeah. Well, and then all of them there's so much noise in the diner, and I'll tell you who else kind of cracked me up was the lady, and I should have taken better notes, but the lady who said she was a bird expert, and saying there's no way this could be. I don't
have her name either. Yeah,
there's no way this could be going on, and she was totally negating everything they said, and then whenever they see the attack and see what's going on, Mitch and Melanie come back into the diner, and all the people are over in the hallway, and no one has a word to say. They're speechless.
Yeah.
And that's when the mother that's in there accuses Melanie of causing it all.
Yeah.
Which is worth investigating or worth pondering, because she brought those lovebirds. Was it the presence of the lovebirds that aggravated the rest of the birds? Were they so exotic and different that they messed up the natural flow of the bird population? Was Melanie so exotic and different that she messed up the
Look at that.
The humdrum?
Look at this.
I said I was not smart in the last podcast. Look how smart I am.
You fixed your mistake.
Yeah,
you
right.
A snob like the rest of
totally.
us. You went full English teacher there. That was
I
really
didn't even
good.
have that in my notes. It just occurred to me. So look at that. I don't even need notes.
No, because that's one of the themes of the tension of them growing between the mother and That's great.
So it's just like Melanie's upset. The apple cart coming into the community, the lovebirds. They don't really talk too much about the lovebirds, but you just wonder, like, what's going on here? And there's a little weirdness when she's getting the lovebirds. There's weirdness in the bird shop, but I think there was supposed to be maybe a little less weirdness and a little bit more flirtatious comedic stuff going on. But I do not think that Tippi Hedren had the acting chops for the comedic rhythm.
Okay.
And so,
she was new.
Right. And in fact, I think that because Rod Taylor is very good at that.
Yeah.
He's used to being in romantic comedies. He was with Doris Day and The Glass Bottom Boat and several other. And he's the rugged, stoic guy, but attractive to women and able to flirt and had that banter going back and forth.
Sure.
Didn't have it with her. There was some of it, and there was enough of it that we can see that they're interested in each other. But I also thought their relationship happened pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it was most likely secondary to the
Sure.
plot, of course.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, yeah, it kind of feels like it's the main thing, and then it's interrupted.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was weird, the shift from from, first, is this couple getting together? What is this, going on? Are we going to get into another psychological thriller here? But then it ends up being a psychological thriller, but it's not because of the couple. It's because of the birds. So, yeah.
I don't think I asked you about this last episode, but I always want to ask you about like acting chemistry and the the different pairs that come up, like between Tippi and Jessica, or Suzanne and who do you think what kind of acting pair or like kind of popped for you whenever they, because you just mentioned how like Tippi and Rod were like pretty, like she didn't really know how to do the comedic timing. She's pretty new at some stuff, but
I mean, they still had enough chemistry that we bought that they were attracted to each other and,
for sure.
and cared for each other.
Absolutely. I did think it was a little. I remember Kylie mentioning when we watched. I'm using all of her notes, but she was like, "She's doing all this for a prank." Or something, and then I was like, "Well, she's kind of attracted to her. She's attracted to him and wants to see more of him and stuff." But it was like, "Whoa, she's going out of her way."
Well, and then when he kind of called her out on it, she was all offended, like playing hard to get and all that.
It's
stuff.
like you traveled all the way out here just to
that kind of stuff wears me out with women. Sorry, I should. No, we've lost all of our women audience.
Yeah, I think we have.
But I mean, I'm talking about. It's sort of like old fashioned.
Yeah, that's not just
called being coy.
That's
or
not just women. I feel like that's that generation where you're like you have to act like it's
the
not
song
happening.
and dance. I'm not interested in you. I am interested in you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So anyway, I think that whole thing was secondary to the.
Sure.
I'm always a fan of the character supporting cast, the character actors.
Yeah. Who was your favorite this time?
Suzanne Plachette.
Yes.
But see, I've always been a big fan of hers because I think that she is
great.
She's such a scenery chewing character. Anytime, of course, I grew up again 70s television. We go back to 70s television.
Right.
She was on the Bob Newhart show. She was his wife, Emily.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
But she's always had that cool.
Because I've seen the Bob Newhart show, so I didn't know. Yeah.
She's always had that cool smoky voice, that deeper voice. Contrast to beautiful woman. Contrast to Tippi Hedren's blondness. Here's Suzanne Plachette, the brunette, and I just think just the way she carries herself, especially in the scene where Melanie's staying with her in the house, and she's listening to the phone conversation, and she's just super subtle, but there's so much in that whole just that whole interaction between them and how she reacts. And you can tell there's a lot more to the relationship that Annie and Mitch had before. And immediately when she says, Melanie says to her, "Why did you come to this town?" And she says, "Well, I came because of an old friend or something." And immediately who she came for. But what I found interesting, this is going to go off on a tangent here, but she's the village school teacher, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming that she teaches all of the kids in the village because there's one classroom. So it's a one-room schoolhouse. It has a little bit of a modern flair, I guess.
Sure.
But I found it interesting because, being a school teacher for 35 years and retired now, I always liked kids. I wouldn't have gotten into teaching if I had not. But people assume when you're a teacher that you like kids all the time. Not meaning like them all the time, but you want to be around them. And if the school teacher's here, the school teacher should be in charge of all the discipline. The school teacher should be in charge of all the creativity and the fun. So I found it interesting that, I'm going to the party, but I'm going to help. She's going to the birthday party to help out with the children.
I'm going to be a babysitter.
So, but that's kind of probably what it was, back in the day.
In a small village like that.
And, the one-room schoolhouse, the school marm sort of took care of all the kids, and was kind of the moral, example for all of them. So, I don't know. I just found it interesting that she wouldn't want to not hang out at a kid's birthday party on the weekend.
No, I know. That's hilarious. Like, I don't want to be around kids right now. Yeah. If this is, the question I always ask you in all these episodes now. If you had directed it, what's something you would change about the storyline? What's something new? If you had directed or wrote it, or it could change like one little element about the story, either like a plot device or even a scene or just something you change about it.
Well, I did think that I did think that like the real close up parts of the attacks were, I don't know, more believable. But again, more believable for us in this, time that we're in watching it. Yeah. I'm sure it wouldn't have been a big deal in 1963, but I'm almost wondering if like more camera flashes closer to the wounds and like close-ups of, I don't know if that would have even, I'm wishy-washy about it.
Yeah.
I was going to say something about how the camera, if you notice the camera follows Melanie, it shows her point of view quite often.
Yeah.
And so there's really a psychological link between Melanie, like I said, coming to the island.
Yeah.
It creates that psychological link between her coming to the island, her being there, and those bird attacks.
Yeah. My thing was tied to that. How I said like, oh, what if it's like a Shutter Island amnesia thing? What I wondered what if she's like in this kind of eternal cycle of torment where she keeps visiting this island and coming back. Oh. That's like a Twilight Zone episode. But like every time she comes, the birds come and they're like, "Don't you remember?" And they can't say
you're not supposed to be here, right?
Yeah, stuff like, because that's how they all looked at her so weird. But it's because she was a celebrity, but they all looked at her like that, and I'm like, that could have been used for some kind of psychological thriller.
So she was a celebrity because she made the society column in the paper.
Yeah,
and they knew.
I think that, or like her dad was like rich or something. I remember
newspaper publisher.
Yes, and she was like his daughter, and she just
from San Francisco, big city.
Yes.
So people, I think she was in the society column and probably the gossip column.
Sure.
Well, because there was that whole thing about her being nude in a fountain or something. She's like, I wasn't nude.
Yeah,
I was pushed in there.
What did Kylie say? She was like, she's like a Paris Hilton type or something.
Yeah.
She's kind of just like rich and famous.
True.
And people know about her.
True.
You know?
Right.
Which
wanting to know all of her business. And,
yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about the score. There was an electronically there was an instrument. It was an early electronic instrument called the Troutonium. I think that's what it's called. But they used that to electronically manipulate bird sounds to make the soundscape feel more like foreign and relentless, where it's kind of like it's almost like a bird, but it's not. And so that kind of really helped. There's obviously the if we're talking like from a cinematography standpoint, the scene with the school is like famous, where you just have the birds slowly collecting on that little playground thing or whatever, and then she has to quietly go in and get the kids out.
Well, she's sitting there, lighting her cigarette, and you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. 2 birds come, then 3. And then you know that when the camera pans back, there's going to be like a million birds.
So it's almost like, I've heard people say that comedy and horror are like an inch away from each other.
Like love and hate.
Because that's funny. Like you keep going back and the birds are like, because I've always said that birds are hilarious. Yeah. Birds are the funniest animals. Because they're just like,
heads.
Just looking around like that. So it's kind of funny in a way, but then you know the context. You're like, this is about to be really bad.
And there are people who have major fear of birds.
Totally. Yeah.
One of your babysitters, when you were little, I took her home, and there was a goose. There was a goose loose in their neighborhood, and her parents called her ahead of time as I was taking her home. She wouldn't get out of the car.
Like they called her to let her know that there was a goose loose.
There's a goose in the, and I think they had a pond or something close by in the subdivision where she lived, but she would not get out of the car. Her father had to come out, open the garage door. We had to do a whole like quick,
that's crazy,
but if you think about this, goose is over there with the big dinosaur type head or something.
Yeah,
they could be a little
that's
scary.
True. No, and geese can be aggressive.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I think it been a chicken, she would have been, but some people are freaked out by birds.
Sure, totally. Where I went to school, they had at college they had swans at that lake, and they were mean, aggressive,
territorial.
How did you feel about the ending? The they just kind of like silently drive off,
because you form your own conclusion. Like like they're gonna take her to get her some help in San Francisco.
Like, is the bird thing happening in San Francisco too? You don't know.
I think the birds have pretty much, when he comes out and gets the car ready, the birds are everywhere. He can't even walk.
Yep.
Birds have completely consumed that happy home, you know, that idyllic setting.
And you know what's interesting is I think I pointed this out for Vertigo. The ending is slightly different in the book. So it's only slightly different. It ends with the main character alone in the house, all the birds pecking at he's boarded up his walls and everything just like they do.
So
in the
you're
movie.
talking the main character was Mitch or was
I
Melanie?
I think it was more far removed. I think the characters were a lot different.
Okay.
I think it was more like the concept of it was
sure.
I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
But the main character he's alone by himself and he's smoking a cigarette in his house and all the birds are pecking at the
and they're going to eventually get in there and get him. Yeah.
And so there's a more like, which is so interesting because that's written after World War II. And then this is written in the middle of the Cold War where it's like nothing has happened yet. I mean, things have happened, but like nothing to the point of like a world war but there's this impending doom that you kind of sit with as it's unsettling, you know?
Right.
But yeah. Do you think this movie would have been scarier had they had better effects, or do you think the more natural effects of using real birds made it more terrifying?
Oh, real birds.
Yeah.
Real birds, very much so.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the special effects, and we're of course used to some really high tech stuff these days. The screeching, the pecking, the fact that there were so many, you know, shots of live birds doing things. Yeah. I just think also the most powerful thing to me was when the stillness, when the birds were gathering and they weren't really.
They were just watching.
You know, once in a while, you know, when he was walking through getting the car ready, they nip at his heels or something. But yeah, I think the most ominous was when they were all gathering on the playground. That was creepy.
Yeah.
And you know, horror films, they always have this where you're like, don't open that door.
Yeah.
You knew when she was going up the stairs that the audience was freaking out in the theater.
Yep. I thought she was gonna die. I thought she died, like genuinely.
Well, yeah, they were really getting her. But yeah, I just think, you know, every horror film's got to have a silly mistake or a silly a silly choice, or you know, of going up the stairs and opening.
Yeah.
And why would she have done that if she heard fluttering?
I know. Yeah. It's like, man.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I feel like you have to have that so the audience is like, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
That's all that suspense.
Yep.
So cool. Well, I'm gonna like go into like our closing questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Like that. But do you have anything else you want to say about acting or cinematography?
You know, the acting. I said some things about Rod Taylor, but I don't know. I just noticed some subtle things like in the beginning he's wearing a lot of dark colors, and he eventually changes into green, which must be a Hitchcock thing.
I know, yeah.
But you know, he's more connected with Melanie. There's some symbolism there.
Yeah, totally.
He's probably a little less charismatic as most of the Hitchcock leading men, because Hitchcock went for James Stewart, Cary Grant, those kinds of guys.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else about him too. I'm trying to look through my notes here. I think that Rod Taylor was extremely rational. Like, his character was supposed to be very
he felt very safe.
You know, he's you know, straightforward, and his acting is straightforward. So I think that's what Hitchcock was looking for, and so he's you know, you can depend on this guy, but he's totally like, oh, I'm going to be rational about this, but everything happening is irrational. Yeah. You know, so of course I love Jessica Tandy. I always love her. She's a solid theater actress.
Man. I was going to say she's probably my favorite performance in the film.
Yeah,
like,
she
awesome.
adds. I'm always interested to see how theater actors transition to film, but they usually they're great.
Yeah.
Very, very icy. That whole possessiveness, the anxiety she shows. Hitchcock has a thing with dominant maternal figures. You noticed?
Yes, I've noticed. I wonder.
There's a whole maternal thing. There's a blonde thing. There's a maternal thing.
He wasn't subtle about it.
No. Did I say subtle?
No.
Okay.
I was just being like,
no, it's not real
it
subtle.
was kind of just like, hey, this is the problems I have.
Yeah.
This is what I deal with.
Exactly. Well, and if you examine the works of the children's author Roald Dahl, the adults in all of his stories were awful, and so it's just that reminds me of them, both English. Yep. Jessica Tandy was great, cool. And then I thought that originally the girl playing the little sister, what was her name? Was it Kathy? Yeah, Kathy. Veronica Courtwright. I believe her sister was in The Sound of Music. Also, I'm not even going to say this because I'm going to get it wrong.
Okay.
But she did a good job. I'm always interested in some of the
sure. Because she's like kind of an older kid.
Yeah, performances of child actors. That she did well in her part.
I think so.
But yeah, that was about it.
Cool. The classic game. It's classic at this point because it's episode 3.
Yes.
Casting swap. Who would you, if you could pick anybody from all time to swap in for any of the roles in this movie? Do you have anyone in mind? I can say mine like I usually do to give you some time to think.
Go for it.
So, I kind of thought. So I don't want to diminish Rod Taylor's performance at all, but I think if you just put any other. Like anybody, they have to have acting chops, of course. But any other like dude who's tall with a strong jaw and broad shoulders, I think they would have done fine. Yeah. I think you could have put like Henry Cavill, like Superman guy, in there, and it would. And
you're
been
talking
perfect,
like anybody from any era could fit in there, is what you're saying. Right?
But like really anybody from that era, from like Hitchcock's era in the '60s, with any guy who's like this, I feel like would have done great in that role. But Rod Taylor is also a terrific actor as well.
Yeah,
but
I mean, this is silly, but like Gregory Peck comes to mind because he was an actor at the time. But I don't know if he could have pulled off the romantic stuff.
He's a little more like intellectual.
I don't know if he could have. He would have probably run off with the bird lady in the diner. She's a lot older than him, but
do you have any mockingbirds here? No, I'm kidding.
Right. Good one. Look at our improv style. This is hard for me to do. Like I'm going to start one-upping you in these podcasts since you're going to ask this every time, but then you'll stop asking.
Yeah,
but
I'll never.
No, I mean, it would be interesting to see some of Hitchcock's other leading ladies in this role. I mean, of course, Grace Kelly. By now, Grace Kelly was Princess Grace of Monaco.
Right.
Kim Novak. I don't know. But I see why, Hitchcock wanted freshness, frailty, lack of experience. I just think...
Because that's the character.
He balances it out, with that sort of thing.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Scene stealer. What was what kind of stood out to you? What was...
we got to look up the lady's name. The lady who played the bird lady.
Yeah.
She was good.
She was awesome.
She was very,
Yeah.
And with her beret and going over and buying a pack of cigarettes, and
listen, let me tell you.
Suzanne Pleshette. I'm going to talk about her again because I just thought she was something else.
Yeah.
Just her performance, she's world weary. She's she doesn't play jealousy. She's still a friend to Melanie. I mean, a new friend because they just met. But she plays. There's elegance there. But she's way more dignified, and there's a subtle sadness to her. Like she's accepted the fact her and Mitch are not going to get together, but maybe she's still kind of secretly pining a little bit for him. But she's not at all jealous of what's going on between those two. Longing, regret. Still a romantic. I think maybe she thinks I might wind up with Mitch if he cycles through the rest of these.
She chose that line really well. Of like Trent kind of being the one who got away. Almost.
Right.
We mentioned it before, but Lydia, Jessica Tandy, goes over to Dan Fawcett's house. I mean, if you don't have her reaction, that doesn't hit as hard.
Right.
You know, that
Yeah, she's kind of a bridge. She's kind of a bridge.
Totally.
And Annie, Suzanne Plachette's role, is a bridge between Mitch and Lydia.
Absolutely.
You find out all this backstory because Annie fills Melanie in on here's what happened, and she's possessed. And now we're good friends, but we weren't then, and that sort of thing. And when Annie dies, and for a minute I was like, oh, she's not dead. Just she'll be all right.
Yeah.
When she dies, all of the logic and order and trying to handle this bird invasion just goes away. Everything's chaotic after that.
Mm-hmm. She was kind of the last little foothold of reality we had.
Yeah, she, the school teacher, the calm, calm caretaker, caregiving.
Absolutely.
Very intelligent lady. Calmness. When she died, it was just gone. The rest of it was, I guess, like primal chaos or something of nature. Very good.
So another classic question: on stage or on screen?
Oh my goodness!
I was able to find some like local theater productions of this play, which I was.
How in the world would you do it?
So apparently it's done by you have some prop birds, right? Mm-hmm. You got to have some for some of but essentially most of the scenes are inside. And there's a suspension of disbelief from the audience that the birds are coming and they're coming, you have to like hide from them.
I'd have to see it because if I think about it right now, I think, boy, talk about campy.
Sure. But no, I found one that a college had done. I forgot. I should have looked it up. But they did it in February of this year, like 2025. So I was like, it's apparently a pretty modern thing to do. But it was like it wasn't like a big school. It was a smaller school somewhere. Yeah. I'm apologizing. If you know the school, comment it down below. I didn't look too much into it. I just know that they have happened and that it required a kind of suspension of disbelief from the birds.
I would have to.
So,
yeah. Well, I'd be interested to see it.
Yeah. So then you think this works better as like a film?
Yeah. I just,
it'd be real hard.
I'm thinking, I don't know how in the world they do it.
Yeah.
It would be funny. It would be funny if it were in a theater to have some type of thing going out in the audience, like all of a sudden, you drop feathers or something.
Yeah. No, like those interactive theaters where they like buzz your seat or something, and they have little things pecking at you.
Yeah, get the audience involved.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now as we're closing up here, what's a double feature if you're gonna watch these back to back?
Something else I'm not ready for.
Good. I thought of this and then even researched, and it was like this is directly inspired by it, but Jaws is like it's more a classic modern. More modern Steven Spielberg, just really any like kind of like disaster flick where like something familiar turns on our characters, turns on humanity or something. Do you have any that come to mind?
I don't know. You know what silly things pop in my head, but the Blob.
The what?
The Blob. Have you ever heard of the Blob?
Yes, but I've never seen it.
No, it's a total B picture.
We've got to watch it.
It's there's one called Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. I don't know. See, I'm not good at this. I've got to get ready.
But if I'm being honest, that sounds like a way more entertaining experience than Jaws. Because if you're sitting down going, I'm watching Attack of the Killer Tomato, like that's really funny. Okay,
I don't know.
Is it meant to be funny? Have you seen
it? I think it's campy. It's a B picture. It's not at all. But like, it's not at all highbrow. Like,
but they shot it sincerely, and it's like funny.
I don't know about that.
Okay, that's funny.
So, yeah.
Okay. Final takeaways. Don't go outside. Be afraid of seagulls. Be afraid of things that are familiar to you.
Well, I think anybody would fib if they didn't say that after they see this movie. They kind of look at birds and go,
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Because you're like, he does such a good job of being like, like I said before, you go outside in the morning and you hear like birds chirping and cooing and stuff, and you're like, that's so comforting. And it's like, oh, if they wanted to, they could kill me. If they all ganged up together and fought,
they could turn on me. Right?
If birds acted like bees, we'd be done for.
Yeah,
we'd be destroyed.
True.
And if they were carnivorous for some reason.
True. Yeah.
Final takeaways for you from this movie.
I should be better prepared knowing all of who I would
come on my podcast.
Yeah, I know.
my podcast called Movie Nights with Dad.
Yes.
And not be prepared.
Maybe my brain was pecked out for this one. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay.
And what was the guy's name again? Oob Eyesore?
Oob Eyeworks.
Eyeworks.
What did you just say?
I said Oob Eyesore. Eyeworks. I don't know. I started off too silly.
Hey,
I'm not.
This guy is he's one of the pioneers of animation. He's Oob. He's great.
Here's to you, Oob.
Yeah,
dedicated
to you,
to this podcast. Dedicated to Oob.
Yeah. Would you recommend this to someone else?
Yes, I would. Well, I think this is. I would call this an essential watch.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, I got to give Vertigo another chance, or maybe 2 chances, because. But I'm still thinking this one's a little more classic.
Sure.
I think more people probably liked it and would pick it over Vertigo, but
yeah,
poor Vertigo.
I think I did. I think I rated this one 10 out of 10, like Rear Window. Yeah. I thought it was like pretty. Yeah.
I would say 10 out of 10.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, that's it. Unless you have anything you want to add.
Nope.
Okay. Cool.
What are we going to watch next?
Back kind of fast. Oh. Yeah. So next week, guys, we have our last Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Can you guess what it is?
Psycho. You're going to do the thing where you hold up the wrong picture.
I should have. Upside down.
You hold up like...
I'm afraid to do that.
You hold up like Willy Wonka on the Chocolate Factory, and we're watching Psycho. No. We're watching, obviously the most famous, most classic Hitchcock film, Psycho, for next week, October 26th. Comes out right before Halloween.
Right before Halloween.
We're getting spooky on you. Or as some of our friends would say, spoopy. Getting spoopy.
Spoopy?
Yeah. But yeah, go ahead and watch that. Watch us next week. Don't forget to, I didn't say this last time, I need to start doing this. Like and subscribe down below. Click that like button, click subscribe. When you subscribe, if you're like new to YouTube, it notifies you when we post stuff. So there you go.
Yeah.
Share it around with your friends. It helps us out a lot. So if you like what we're doing, share it around.
Hopefully we'll get better.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Dad.
So,
love you.
Love you too.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.